Let's start today's edition with entertainment. Nigeria's entertainment industry is in an excitement mood at the moment. Music stars Burna Boy and Wizkid won accolades at the 2021 Grammy Awards, while Damini Ogulu, popularly known as Burna Boy, won the Best Global Music Album Award. Ayo Balogun, otherwise called Wizkid, won the Best Music Video Award for his collaborative song with Beyonce, Brown Skin Girl. Debbie, Debbie is joining us from Max FM. Debbie, I was short of words yesterday, but 2 weeks ago, when I got the hint that Burna Boy was going to perform at the Grammys, for me, it was like 80% done deal.
80% done.
Yes. So when it was announced yesterday, I just wow, now the dream has come true. Not forgetting that Angelique Kidjo actually dedicated last year's award because it was a tight race. And Kidjo clinched it at the end of the day. So Burna Boy, we have it now.
Well, I don't think we should be too comfortable to say we were expecting a win, because if you've seen the history of the Grammys, nothing is ever 100%. If you look at Femi Kuti, he had four
nominations.
Four nominations. Even another, kind of pseudo nomination in this particular edition, and he didn't win. Seun Kuti also had a nomination as well in this same category, still didn't win. So the fact that Burna Boy won it, especially when it was a back-to-back nomination, I think it's no mean feat for for an artist of his level, of his stature, to have gotten to that level, in my opinion, so quickly.
So quickly?
Yes, because in actual sense, his career started, since 2011, 2012, nationally. He started a little bit, from Port Harcourt and all that, but he became known, across Nigeria from 2013. And this is 2021, 8 years. And he's a Grammy Award-winning artist at the age of 29. It's not easy.
One of our viewers, that Mr. Benson Idonije is actually his grandfather. Yes. So this young man, in a very short time, making this kind of history. Not forgetting that the likes of KSA, they were nominated, but they never won.
Femi Kuti was nominated with the album Bang Bang Bang.
Nice album.
The album was fantastic. It reigned.
Yeah.
But it didn't win. It didn't win the Grammy. Sonny Ade didn't win a Grammy. We've had some Nigerians who won, but these were not Nigerians who were truly happy to be identified with their country. People talk about Seal, they talk about Sade. But I don't understand the need for this kind of controversy. These are Britons, in my view. Yes, when Sade's dad died, she came for the burial. Well, that was it. It's just like the Arsenal midfielder, Saka. People want Saka to play for Nigeria. He said, I can't play for Nigeria.
Because his answer is Saka?
All my life I've lived in the UK is like telling one to go back to a father who abandoned one at childbirth. So Burna Boy is the first home-sourced. I'll use the word home-sourced now. 2 words, using an iPhone to join them.
Yes.
Is the first home-sourced artist to win a Grammy. As a solo artist.
Yes, look at that.
Not talking about Sikiru Adekoju, who won
the first
along with other group members, but the first solo artist from Nigeria, that's the man from Erua. But this is the first solo artist from our country, based in our country, to win a Grammy. And it deserves all the plaudits that he can get.
The national pride.
It's a truly special artist, because it's not easy.
He shot it at the National Stadium.
It's not easy to get to the peak. It's not easy to get to the peak at so early. It's not easy to get on. The sky, for him to have back-to-back nominations, something told me that he could get it.
Yes, there's something about him.
So this is a truly special artist, unique, even in his style. So the style, in my view, the sky is bright for him if he maintains discipline, because the stories we hear of him fighting people at nightclubs. About 2 weeks ago, he fought Obafemi Martins.
Allegedly.
That shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't be happening. And then again in Ghana, fought with Davido. Those things, for an artist, you have to be focused.
Yeah.
He has to think of what's ahead of him, and I believe that the star is really, the sky is his limit.
Debbie, when you look at the Nigerian music artists, lately we've been, if you go to West African countries, if you go to other African countries, I was in Senegal at a point in time, if you see, it's a francophone country, but the way they were singing Nigerian songs, they were watching our own videos, and Nigerian people like Flavor, people like P-Square, they're just like their idols there.
Yeah.
So our artists right now, the way they are doing in the international scene is something in the last 10 years commendable.
Yes, definitely. Even Beyonce's album, a lot of the sounds originated from Africa. So Africa is definitely the pride when it comes to the music industry globally. And Nigeria has taken a lion's share of that audience. And that's because of, will I say, the way we have handled our music. It's so pure, it's so undiluted. And we also have a way of mixing things up when we need to. If you listen to Nigerian music right now, it's a potpourri of Afrobeat plus. And Afrobeat belongs to us.
So that's something
nobody, no country in the world can ever take Afrobeat away from us. Now the S that we've added has spiced up everything.
Heavy on Afrobeat.
So when it's like Fela Plus, and when you have a Fela Plus, it's like Fela Pro Max, the new generation of Fela, inspired artists. Yes. Even Wizkid would like tell you he's inspired by...
People are studying Afrobeat in higher institutions outside the country.
Exactly.
So it's a big deal.
These are people that already identify with that sound. It's a, how do I say it? It's an industry on its own. It's a pillar on its own globally. So when you have an artist like Burna Boy attaching himself, going to that source, in terms of his personality, his flamboyance, his style, he's drawing from that source, you can't help but, look at how he's been able to creatively marry the new sound of Nigerian music to Fela sound, Afrobeat, and he's made it so commercially successful. He's made it so critically acclaimed, and now it's being universally acknowledged, courtesy of the Grammy.
When we were growing up, the content was like 70-20, 80-20 and everything. Even when you listen to radio stations, people like Debbie, they'll play 80% foreign content. But right now, in spite of the fact that NBC has mandated you guys, but even if NBC is not coming with that rule, our artists, they're so much doing well that, yes, we can afford to play 100% of their content and you still run a successful music station.
Yes, and if you go to, if you are a DJ and you got a contract to show your worth at a party, if you play a preponderance of foreign music, they are probably going to stone you. You must play. You must play. You must play Nigerian music largely at the event. If you are going to, it's just a sprinkle of foreign music that you play.
To bridge,
a lot of dance hall music. Just play a sprinkle of it, because the Nigerian sound. Look at that beat from the first song we played earlier. Look at that beat. You see clearly it has come to be identified now as the Nigerian beat. Everyone is copying it. Everyone is copying it. And the world has come to accept that Nigeria is an emerging force in music. You see someone like Davido, singing at the O2 Arena and selling out. You see
Whiskey,
foreign artists, foreign rappers, Drake and the rest of them partnering with Nigerian artists. We have never had this so good. That should tell you how well our artists are doing. And that should tell you that, look, if all the support that is required is provided to these guys, they will take Nigeria to the next level.
So many of them
will earn a lot of foreign exchange through the entertainment industry. And it pleases me now that they are going to refurbish or renovate the National Theatre.
Yes,
it's a matter of shame that we left it to rot. But now
what they are coming up with,
they are going to make it look fine again.
Cinemas, everything.
See, the future is bright. all I can see, she was talking about the fusion of
Afrobeats.
Afro. You can see that that's exactly how Wizkid sings too.
Yeah.
Look at his song, Joro. When you listen to Joro, it feels like it's fella singing.
Even Brown Skin Girl, you can trace it to Lady. It still has the similar theme. So
don't forget that this Burna Boy was a dancer with Fela and Anikulapo Kuti.
It's like a fella reincarnating. It's like these guys are bringing back the ghost of fella in a positive manner. So
wherever Bamieda is now, we'll be happy.
Yes, definitely.
The legacy left, this Afrobeat is not dead.
So I just wanted to point out that I don't want to use the word shameful, but it's embarrassing at this point if we're relying on stadiums or national theaters. We don't have our own arenas. We don't have our own space whereby we can actually hold concerts. I mean, away from the pandemic, if you look at artists that have performed overseas, they set records. They say, "Oh, I played at a sold-out O2, maybe 45,000." But we don't have such capacity, high capacity, venues. And we say we are part of the music industry, the global music industry. So it's kind of like funny when you want to hold a tour, and you want Nigeria to be part of that tour. Who are you? Where are you playing at?
No, it's part of the infrastructure deficit that we suffer.
That's what I'm saying.
If we go across you see big theaters where people can record songs live. The Joy Celebration, one of their most famous gospel singing groups.
Okay.
They play at big amphitheaters in Durban and the rest of them. And Sony is there in South Africa. They will produce albums out of those live shows. Everything you will enjoy it, But it's like we've lost everything. There was a time when we had EMI and the rest of them here. The big music companies.
Yes,
they were here in Nigeria. But by the early 1980s, they began to leave. People like Peter Tosh, they used to come to Nigeria to record their songs. And it was Peter Tosh who taught Bob Marley how to play the guitar. You can imagine. They used to come
Paul
to
McCartney.
Nigeria.
I saw a picture of Paul McCartney meeting Fela from back in the day. Like, he came to find out who was this guy that could play the saxophone.
Yes, now. Yes. I've forgotten the name of this artist who had an argument with Fela, and they were playing different instruments.
I think there was a James Brown as well, was one of those people that felt like...
James Brown too was here. And Fela now, to defeat him, Fela gave him a talking drum. And he couldn't play the talking drum. Fela was a fantastic musicologist himself who could play several instruments.
And he brought that talking drum to the Grammys performance. That's Burna Boy. When he performed, a fusion, a mix of his some of the songs off of his Twice as Tall album. The talking drum was part of the instruments played, during the performance, which was beautiful. It showcased African, Nigerian culture.
So we gradually, our music is gradually creeping into the international standard.
It's not gradually, sir. We're taking over.
I said Obama was singing. Obama was singing.
We were asking Obama his songs of the year.
He was singing his song.
He named one of Burna Boy's.
He was even singing his song.
Oh no!
Conversant with the lyrics, he was singing Burna Boy's song.
And look at his collabo with that South African guy to do Jerusalem.
Okay.
Yes.
You see, when you look at the way Burna Boy structured the album, the kind of people that he got to work with him, you will know that album was targeted at the international audience. With Grammy in mind.
Yes.
People like P. Diddy, they were among the producers. So when you have this kind of quality people working with you, the arrangement will be so
P.
good.
Diddy was there.
He was the executive producer. So who can bring Yuso Undur onto an album in this our generation? Which artist can boast of a legend? And to make matters interesting, that was the opening of that album. Level Up was the first song on Twice as Tall. When I heard that first song, I said, look, this is a winner. This is how to do it. He was very intentional. He was very intentional with the album.
And I think that he's made history. He's the first Nigerian solo artist to win this.
Yes.
And he deserves his day in the sun.
But congratulations to Nigerians. Congratulations, everybody. I think it's what celebrates
Our country is not all about bad news.
Yes, so it's not about bandits.
People are being kidnapped in schools and all that.
We break from all that
But
now. And we celebrate this young man.
Burna Boy and Wizkid have made us proud.
They made us proud.
And we remain grateful to them.
So you can catch up with David, 102.3 FM, Max FM, Breakfast Show.
In the morning.
Every day, Breakfast Show, 6 a.m.
5 to 10 a.m. Monday
5 to 10 a.m. Monday to Fridays. That's 102.3 Max FM,
That's
our
right.
sister station. Thank you, David,
Thank
for your
you.
contribution today.
Thank you very much.
When he wins next year, we'll bring him.
I'll probably be in Best Spoken Word album.
Okay,
Yeah,
the new
watch
album.
and listen out for
You're going to be singing?
It's going to be spoken word.
Okay.
So I'm targeting maybe 2050 or something.
Oh, 2050. Well.
When I retire from radio.
In what appears to be resigning to fate, the federal government has emphasized the need for Nigerian parents and guardians to be vigilant in the face of attacks on schools and abduction of students. The Minister of State for Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajuba, insists that government cannot secure every school in the country. This is very, very weighty, Babajide.
Yes.
The 1999 Constitution is giving the primary responsibility for the protection of life and property as the first function of the government. And if that same government is now saying, parents, guardians, you need to be vigilant because we can't guarantee your safety. This is where we are in Nigeria today.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It is the responsibility of government and the armed forces to protect our people. We can't push back that responsibility to the parents. Parents should feel relaxed that once they have dropped their children at school, that the security of that school will be handled by other people. That's the government and the
management of the school.
Management of the school, and as well as the armed forces, as well as the police. But if we are telling parents now, it's not a matter of vigilance. It's not a matter of vigilance. A lot of parents are involved with their own work. They are working. Maybe you are a banker now. You're far away from where your child is.
How will I be vigilant? Somebody wielding AK-47.
That's I'm even saying. You are even far away. So when you are far away, there are some parents whose children are schooling in Lekki, and their workplace is on the mainland. You know, so what kind of vigilance can that parent ensure? He's already left the child to other people to protect. So it's not a matter of vigilance. The other day, someone said Nigerians should rise up and defend themselves with bare hands against people going about with GPMG, against people who sometimes even kill soldiers with
RPG,
AA, anti-aircraft guns. So how do parents now? Because it's talking about vigilance, I just don't get it. We've got to do our best to secure our schools, because I was reading about how security has literally collapsed in our country, and I saw that in 3 months, 692 students were abducted. During this period, and up to now, 42 are still in captivity, because you kidnap students and some of their teachers are still in captivity, as well as the students. 42 still in captivity, and the northern elders are saying, look, things are degenerating fast. We've got to come up with a solution. The president has to do something quickly, and the people around the president, including governors now, they've got to call a meeting. That, Mr. President, what can we do? Someone was suggesting the other day, and I agree, that at this time, some of our elder statesmen, including Olusegun Obasanjo, who amongst them is the most rugged, you probably will need
to work with
their input at this time. The president, no matter what Obasanjo had done in the past, all those letters went to ruffle feathers and all that within the presidency. The president acknowledged in his Obasanjo's 84th birthday goodwill message that Nigeria still needs his wisdom, his experience and all that. So if the president can admit that, nothing stops him from calling a meeting of all these past leaders and asking them how best do we handle this situation, because it's now glaring that we are approaching a very, very dangerous turn, and we must take the right decision to deal with this menace.
Sam, a region that was hitherto tagged as education at disadvantaged region, that they are still trying to encourage people. That's why we have all the quota system, what we have in JAM and WAEC and everything, and common entrance, just to encourage people. Now, what is happening in the north now? Is it not targeted at collapsing the educational system?
I say targeted. It's already collapsed. Stopping, situation, and one is tempted to ask, what has become of the Safe School initiative? Is the government also abandoning that project to parents? The fact of the matter is that the security of lives, the welfare of the city, the devil finds work for idle hands. So the government has to act, and very quickly too. We can no longer pretend that we can paper over this challenge.
No, actually, I don't.
He was talking about the Safe School initiative, and was trying to put some things together, because at that time the Safe School initiative came up in response to the abduction of the Chibok girls.
Yes.
And we chose an auspicious event, the World Economic Forum meeting, to announce that we were coming up with the Safe School initiative. And about 500 schools were supposed to be captured. The goal was to keep students and pupils in a secure environment, because we were supposed to pick up a valuable lesson from the Chibok abduction. And the goal of the Safe School initiative was to move children from volatile areas to areas that are safe. You look at a place like Borno State, for example, and I've given that example before. The Federal Government College, Federal Government Guest College, Monguno, their unity school, they moved the school to the state capital. That was also one move that they made to ensure that unity school was not lost. We've lost students to Boko Haram attacks. Now bandits. Remember the fate of those students in Buniyadi that were slaughtered in their sleep. So, and that was in 2014. Now we are in 2021. Attacks on schools have not stopped. In fact, they are now on the rise. If you look at what has happened in one day in Kaduna, 3 different schools were attacked in just one day. The same day that the
bandits seem to be running riots in Kaduna.
Yes, and it looks deliberate because of the some of what the governor said. They now felt, okay, you are the one leading the campaign that they should not pay amnesty to us. By the time we ensure that you don't have peace, we'll see what to do
for you.
There's nothing El-Rufai has said that was wrong, in my view. I still believe that we should trust our armed forces to get the job done.
It's taking time.
We can't be begging. We can't be begging criminals. Now we are closing schools, nearly all of the Northwest. Our children will suffer until we are able to find the solution to this problem.
When I look at the level of infrastructural deficits that we have in the country as a whole, Look at what we have in the south, look at what we have in the south. Not to talk about the little we had in the north, and it has been broken down now. It will take years, it will take another generation. When you talk about Yobe, when you talk about Borno states, the level of destruction that has taken place in those areas.
You're basically repeating the very obvious. And I want to believe that it's that level of destruction that led government into setting up the North-East Development Commission with hope that the massive destructions in that part of the country, will be redeemed. But you and I know that so much, has gone on there. Schools have been destroyed, hospitals have been destroyed, bridges have been destroyed. In some locations, you can't access, different, certain local government areas and all that. So it's massive destruction. And even if you have all resources, the safety, the security is not even there. So even if you have the money, the guys have made these places ungovernable. So even if you award contracts, how safe would it be for the contractors to go in there and effect those repairs that you're talking about?
Look at the power mast.
Everything. So it's going to set the northern part of Nigeria, especially the northeast part, the northeastern part of Nigeria.
It will probably take 40 years to rebuild.
So many years. So many years. Because the guys, appear to feel that the region has become very vulnerable. And like has been said, they basically stroll in there, commit heinous crimes, and then just return. So we're only hoping that the different strategies that government is laying out to combat or contain terrorism and banditry will yield some results. That is the only time you can hope that development will return to that part of the country, no matter the amount of money. If you don't have safety, if the place is not secured, contractors can't go in there and effect any form of repairs or development. It's a sad situation.
Elections are turning more violent in Nigeria. The Butch Saturday by-election for the Ekiti State East Constituency 1, where 3 people lost their lives after attacks by thugs, comes to mind. But the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, stated that it would not succumb to electoral banditry. Babajide, Ekiti State has a kind of track record. Any election in the Ekiti State, I've been covering the election in the Ekiti State in like 2007, by-election, main election, is always keenly contested. The interests, I don't know, but this is not, when I got that report, it wasn't new, and there's this rivalry between the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress in the Ekiti State.
Well, it's not a bad idea for parties to be competitive, for parties to not take electoral contest lightly. What is wrong is for parties to resort to violence and banditry, as we've seen in recent elections in our country. I think politicians are increasingly becoming convinced that the voters do not matter. That as long as they can beat up people, invade polling stations with their thugs, cut away...
It's part of electoral strategies.
Cut away ballot materials, they will become winner of the election in the final analysis. We all know, and even INEC admitted, that the off-season elections that we had in Bayelsa and Kogi were downright banditry. You cannot call those ones elections. Outright brigandage. That's what happened. But I'm worried that it's fast becoming the norm. Nobody wants to be gentlemanly anymore. Nobody wants to play by the rules. The two political parties are guilty. They both want to win at all costs. And this is particularly worrisome. What is in a by-election for a state constituency that is not even one of the biggest in the state?
State Assembly.
State constituency.
That's the Central Senatorial District.
And in 5 different locations in that election, violence was recorded. And then in one of the locations, 3 persons were killed. As we speak, some of the people,
election.
that is the point that I made earlier, that even as a state constituency, it is not, in my view, the biggest state constituency, neither is it the most important. So why are you killing people? 5 different locations, voting was disrupted, and in one of those wards, 3 persons were killed, including a policewoman who was a nursing mother. Innocent youth corps members, we use them for elections.
Honestly.
And they get brutalized, serving their nation. We've seen where even some of them were slaughtered because they would not allow election to be rigged. Where you see young people committed to the well-being of their nation, committed to the progress of their nation, refusing to compromise, you then slaughter them in Nigeria. And we think that is something to not complain about. The shame that our social media activists lack, you see it every day in their conduct. How many people are talking about this election and the conduct of the election, the way people had been killed? They will button up their mouths over those ones. Extremely hypocritical people. They are not talking about it. That's why you cannot say these are patriots. They don't love the country. If you see bad things and you do not feel obligated to talk about it, to complain about it, you simply behave like it did not happen, which means that you consented to it. That means you are an enemy of our country. Go and read what Okoye said. Okoye is saying that, look,
Professor Okoye.
Yes, that you politicians have to tell yourselves that enough is enough. That how many times are we going to be having elections postponed, elections repeated on account of banditry by politicians? They invest so much money on thugs. The kind of money that they do not spend on their people, they will spend on thugs, because to them the end justifies the means.
They will arm those thugs.
Yes, and when they arm those thugs after the election, because the guns have not been retrieved from those thugs will now turn those guns against you and I. You now have more kidnappers, more armed robbers, more cultists. This is the problem that politicians create for us. They are our problem. But they are the same people who say that, journalists are the problem. How are journalists the problem? Run the country properly. Banish the negative tendencies that we see in our everyday lives, and let us see whether journalists will go and invent what was not there.
Yinka, just a by-election in the states, Omo constituency.
In fact, I'm so saddened by the event. I watched it on TV, and I watched one of the senators where she was narrating what happened.
Yeah,
and I felt Olujimi, and I felt so bad that this election, is it necessarily about the people? Is it necessarily about the electorate? Just a state constituency, not even for National Assembly, just for the by-election for the State House of Assembly. But all said and done, I think the National Electoral Commission, the security agencies, and all of them, they need to sit down together and draw out a strategy. How do we cope this? how to curb it is not only to postpone the election and talk at politicians and say this. I believe that some of the activists or some of the people involved, the way Senator Olujimi talked, it was like she was present when this thing was happening. So there must be a way to identify the fellow who shot the gun, who carried the ballot box or the materials and everything. She must
they brought them before a magistrate's court.
She needs to identify that, yes, this was the fellow that I saw that did this. If it's not the one, then they need to do more, because the belief here is that we don't punish offenders, and that is why things are always happening like this. Why should a state constituency election, 3 good people are dead, and that is not the end of it? Because I read a while ago that one of those wounded is also on critical list. So why should, if this election is purely about
the people,
I mean, people should be allowed to vote. If they don't vote for you, there's always another time. Why should you orchestrate violence? Ekiti State is becoming a flashpoint.
Security presence.
Ekiti State is becoming a flashpoint. Exactly. You see, now,
they will tell you they are mobilizing.
What do you see?
That's Honorable Bafem.
Do we see this kind of thing in other climes? Not even in Africa. Do you see?
When you talk about Senate climes now, they will be complaining.
Exactly.
They don't want you to talk about Senate climes. Look at some of the countries that Nigeria helped them to be what they are today. Those frontline states.
Exactly.
They are able to do elections. They are able to do elections. They don't kill themselves.
Another episode has evolved in the drama trailing the Imo North senatorial election. The Supreme Court of Nigeria has adjourned sitting indefinitely in 2 appeals filed by the All Progressive Congress APC and Chukwuma Ibezim over the December 5th, 2020 poll. The adjournment came after a petition against 3 of the 5-man panel of the Apex Court, led by Justice Musa Dati Mohammed, accusing them of secretly mating and conniving with some members of the People's Democratic Party. Jide, this is getting messier. What is the meaning of this?
It's politicians behave in strange ways. They make all kinds of claims. I will not say that it's impossible for Supreme Court judges to meet with politicians, but when you make this kind of allegation, you must be prepared to defend the allegation. You must be prepared to bring out facts. Remember, before the governorship election in Edo State, Mike Igini, one of the most stubborn individuals that I have ever seen in public office in Nigeria.
Yes, it's a wreck now. Was
accused of having meetings with PDP members with the intention of rigging the election for the PDP. In anger, he decided that he was going to court, going to ask for a few billions. The spokesman of the APC who made that allegation has been begging since then. He has publicly apologized.
Because he couldn't substantiate it.
Yes. Clearly somebody told him to go and issue that irresponsible statement. Now, confronted not just by the defeat of the candidate of the APC,
bring out the facts,
which is a big pain, and then the election is gone. Of course, the court matter is there. Unfortunately for them, on the day that they claimed that Igini was attending that nocturnal meeting, Igini was in Lagos, and he had evidence to show that he was in Lagos. He was not in Benin at that time. There were people that he was with. So He knew that he would not be able to defend that matter in court. He had to apologize. Remember also that recently, the former national chairman of APC apologized in 5 national dailies to Governor Tom. All kinds of things that Tom was accused of doing. He has apologized for saying those things.
Shomole has apologized.
Shomole apologized in 5 national dailies. You say, I'm sorry for all that I said against you. So we have a similar thing. Now, my own concern now is the national caretaker chairman of APC, who was alleged to have issued this petition, has said that he knows nothing about it, that it did not come from his office. The lawyer of the APC has also said, look, I do not know anything.
Supreme Court judges.
Yes.
And out of 5, 3 of them.
3 of them met with a BDP. Meanwhile, the matter in question is not even related to the PDP. It's just APC between themselves, before the Supreme Court. It's not a PDP matter. They are not a party in those 2 cases. So how did the PDP come in? It just seems that sometimes people look at some judges of the Supreme Court and conclude that if we cannot eliminate this person, we are not likely to get the justice that we want. So it seems that a rabble-rouser somewhere just sat down, wrote that petition against the Supreme Court judges, because now that everyone, even Ahmed Raji, the lawyer to Ararume, has said that he does not know anything about it. Everyone is saying no. That it didn't. So how did that petition get to the Supreme Court?
Involved in that kind of thing.
How did the letter get to the Supreme Court judges in the first place? Now that everyone is saying no, it didn't come from me. I don't know anything about it.
Doctor, what is happening here?
Well, it's just the same issue we've been talking about. Do we really have political parties in Nigeria? Or just a gathering of men who want to get into power by any means? It's so obvious now that we've not come of age in terms of organizing ourselves into political parties in order to assume power and better the lots of citizens. There are a few things for me in all of this. Number 1 is what I've mentioned. Who are these people, talking about this issue in court, and what is the aim? The whole aim is obviously to swing judgment, whether rightly or wrongly, in the favor of one of the 2 contending parties. Like Babajide said, this is just a matter within the APC. The party said one of them, Chukwuemeka Ibezim, is the candidate for the election. A former senator, Ifeanyi Ararume, has gone to court to say, look, this man my party presented lied to INEC in his declaration in the forms he filled, and as such is not fit to be a senator. It started from the lower court, and it got judgment. Federal High Court, Court of Appeal.
Who got judgment? Ibezim?
No.
Ararume
got judgment.
Okay.
Now this case is in the Supreme Court. It's dragging. And it appears one party is scared that this may not go in my favor. Then this letter comes. Everyone has denied being author of that letter, or even being aware of the existence of that letter, including the lawyers of both the APC and Ararume. Ahmed Raji and Umekalu, both of them senior advocates, they said, we don't know about this letter. So it means even within the party, the lessons we ought to have learned since 1999, which the Independent National Electoral Commission has been shouting about, that until there is order, especially internal democracy within the parties, we are going to keep having issues and issues and issues.
Okay, a hike in the pump price of the premium motor spirit, otherwise the petrol, was first dismissed by the NNPC in late February, early March, if you see what I mean. It said then that no such thing was on the cards, at least for the month of March. Some unscrupulous marketers had increased the price at some petrol stations nationwide. Today, fears about a true hike in price of PMS appears imminent. The NNPC confesses it cannot bear the 120 billion naira monthly it pays as a subsidy. Group Managing Director Mele Keari says the corporation cannot continue to cope with the 234 naira per litre it pays, while the government continues to sell at 162 naira per litre. We desire to state that while knowledge is power, information management is never for its own sake. It's a common management discipline, Jide. Managing information, we discussed it, I think, some 2 weeks back.
Yes. When the PPPRA prematurely announced an increase in the pump price of petrol, without all the stakeholders agreeing on whether it was the right time to do it or to even do it at all. So on that occasion, the PPPRA dropped the ball. If you are going to let Nigerians know the extent to which we subsidize the cost of petrol in our country, you've got to state clearly that yes, we sell at so price, but this is the actual landing cost. Instead of doing that, the PPPRA gave the impression that Nigerians were going to start buying petrol at a new price, because the PPPRA is the agency of government mandated by law to fix prices. And I've said repeatedly that as long as we have the PPPRA, we have the Petroleum Equalization Fund and other agencies, then we cannot say that we are no longer under the subsidy regime. As I've said before, petrol is a security commodity.
Especially at times like this.
Yes. If you are not careful about its pricing, it could lead to serious, violent convulsions in our country. And I'm sure that's not what the president wants to see.
Yeah.
We have, the president and his minders have tried their best to see if they could handle this sort of thing. Handle it in a manner that will not hurt the common man. It's already tough for the common man to live in our country. Every time the price goes up in the international market, it then means that you have to adjust the price here. So, but the country will earn more, but the people will then pay more. That's tough on the people.
Yeah.
That's tough on the people. The distributable revenue accruing to the center will go up. States can earn a lot more when we earn so much, from the international market.
Yeah, yeah.
But the ordinary man has to pay so much. And when that happens, even our GDP will be grossly affected. The people's purchasing power that is already eroded by inflation will also be terribly affected. So
because
the government must find a balance.
The market will not forgive you.
No.
When things go up, of course, they must act up, in a manner of speaking. Mm-hmm. Tony, what's this thing about Nigeria, the NNPC deregulating? I don't know if you understand the logic there.
And they deregulated. You can't deregulate and at the same time control the price. That's why we keep getting this confusing policy from government. Some time ago we heard there was no subsidy payment, and the government doesn't want to call it subsidy. And I don't understand what they call it.
Deceiving themselves.
Yeah, well, it's not subsidy, but you're paying so much.
Being political.
Yeah, you're paying so much.
If it's not subsidy,
if it's not subsidy, what is it?
What is it?
So I'm so surprised when the GMD of NNPC said they can no longer, show that the 120 billion naira monthly payment to subsidize. Yeah, so this is not a deregulated market yet. Yes, and I don't think we can cope. Let's be serious with ourselves, because definitely at the end of March they are going to increase it. It's just giving us hints. It's just spreading our mind now. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Timothy said it some 2 weeks ago that Nigerians will be prepared.
No, but he heard that. Jide is saying none of us is not shared.
But don't forget. What I'm trying to say, citizens, they create unnecessary fears in the minds of people.
Because information is not managed fairly.
Exactly, because following what the GMD said yesterday, I can assure you that in days to come, it may lead to fuel queues again. We can read the mind of government. This, we know these things. Let's not be. It is the truth, because you cannot deregulate and at the same time subsidize. It's the same thing. No matter the whatever they're using to cover it.
They say allow the market forces to take over.
Which market forces? You're saying you're subsidizing it. If you allow, by now we should be buying for 500. That's if you allow the real market price to determine.
Oh, really?
So the issue is this. That we're doing the wrong thing, except we get serious. There is no way you can deregulate the market when our refineries are not fixed. It's a fact. Because tomorrow it may be 200, and according to the GMD, 234 naira. What's happened in the days to come, in the months to come? Then it means the market prices will determine what we're going to buy, the cost of petrol, which shouldn't be. The right thing, first and foremost, is to get a refineries. Why are we not talking about it? Why are we not talking about it? Is it that we cannot fix our own refinery? We take our crude outside there, get it processed, and return to the country, and we buy the processed product. That's why this thing is happening like this. And everybody's waiting for Dangote refinery. I said Dangote is government.
Waiting.
Why can't we, at least if we cannot, sell those ones? They said, no, we can't, and then you just voted some money after you said you cannot fix it, after the turnaround maintenance and all that. Sell this thing, if it's possible, to the private sector to manage. Then if we can build a new one, we can build refineries in this country. We have the resources.
For many, it has been a time to reflect reports of the deaths of Yinka Odumakin after a brief illness at the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital. The National Publicity Secretary of the Pan-Yoruba Socio-Cultural Group, Afenifere, played a major role in the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, that fought the regime of late military head of state, General Sani Abacha, after the annulment of June 12, 1993 presidential election. He joined us on this show in February to discuss burning national issues. Let's share some parts with you.
There is no responsible government that will allow this thing to go on. The government not say Israel could live on those states. No. Vacate the forest reserves. You should only animals go and occupy reserves now, not human beings. The reserves were created by the states for a purpose, of afforestation. But how can you as human beings go and occupy those reserves and be claiming that you have a right to it if you occupy human beings? No, it's not so. And I think that the federal government should cooperate with the state government to enforce its lawful directive over these herdsmen. The state actors should be responsible enough and ensure that they do what they should do. There are governors in these states. They must do their jobs in terms of secure. The primary job is to secure their people. And when their people become insecure, it's not a plus for them. We appeal to the governors. They should put Amotekun on strong footing, put strong structure on the ground, so that because a Lagos or your state is bigger than the Republic, that's the country. They have army, they have everything. So for us to maintain a formal security structure like Amotekun should not be a problem for us. Our governors should do it well, so they can perform excellently and show the Nigerian security forces how to secure a people.
GKB Lekonshota, this is a personal loss. In the last 20 years, I've had to work closely with Yinka Odumakin, and everywhere I've worked, and it's somebody that we've collaborated to do several other things, and he personally introduced me to all the leaders of Afenifere, from Ayo Adebanjo to late Padesoya, and a lot of top shots in Afenifere. Always working with him is always a delight, and after the press conference or the meetings, hours of meetings, Yinka will be the one to give the press conference or read out the communique of that Yoruba and social cultural group, Afenifere. We lost somebody that is a voice, especially to the people of the Southwest.
Yes, Yinka will be missed. He's a personal friend, and I have spoken to some people, including his wife, before this loss, and it was really painful. I've been trying to get across to his fellow civil rights activists, like Razak Oladoshu and Co, who have spent, Boska, who have spent the last 20 years defending the Nigerian Federation, asking for true federation. That's why I'm surprised when people start tagging him all sorts of names. And I said, no, this is a person who truly believes in a restructured Nigeria, which any reasonable Nigerian should also believe in. Because if the system is not working, it is people like Yinka that will pontificate on the way forward, so we have a Nigeria of our dreams.
Look, Oshota, it's very bad. Yinka is going to be missed. Yesterday, when I got the phone call, I was so shocked. The first thing I did instinctively, I didn't know. They told me somebody is no more, and I just took my phone to call his number, and it was like, the number you're calling is switched off. I was like, wow.
It's unfortunate that we lost Yinka. I wasn't like his personal friend, but I remember meeting his wife one-on-one, and I was even asked to and I was even asked to say the vote of thanks at the meeting that we had, and I jokingly said that I would like to go to jail, and these people were like, what do you mean? I said, well, you know, she once said that she met her husband in jail, so I'm looking for a good woman. Maybe somebody will give me an idea of how to go to jail so I can meet somebody I could marry.
It's such a time.
I actually started hearing about
a close friend of the family, that's Olufemi Lawson, joining us via Skype. Thank you for joining us, Femi.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, Femi, can you please tell us, before Yinka passed on, Yinka used to be the spokesperson of the president, Muhammadu Buhari, when they ran under CPC and Pastor Tunde Bakare. So in 2015, Yinka left them. Yinka was now actively seen with the People's Democratic Party. At what point in time did Yinka change his belief on moving the country forward from Buhari to President Jonathan?
Well, thank you, Ayo. And I want to say that, of course, if going by the impression that somebody like you personally who have known Yinka Odumakin for close to 20 years. And for people like us who have also worked with you and you understand that Yinka, to start with, was never a member of PDP. You know, even at the time Yinka was invited to come and work as a spokesperson of the General Buhari campaign in 2011, it was not because of his membership of the party, CPC. Yinka was brought into the presidential campaign of President Buhari because there was an ideological meeting point between us then and the candidate of the CPC. And it was mainly centered around one principle, which was one of the reasons why even Pastor Tunde Bakari agreed to fly as a running mate on that ticket. And it's the principle of what we have spent the last couple of years agitating for. That is the restructuring of Nigeria. There was no extraordinary relationship between Yinka Odumakin and President Buhari or every other political groups he has had to work with, like you said, the PDP in 2014. It was not even the PDP as an organization that had relationship with Yinka, and that is the truth. The PDP does not have what it takes, with all due respect, to have invited Yinka to participate in the campaign for the election in 2015. It was on the basis of the assurance given by the then president, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, that is committed to the restructuring of Nigeria, which has been what Yinka has spent over 2 decades of his life working for, that necessitated the reason why he had to drop that the political relationship with President Buhari in 2015. Because if you look at the 2015 agenda of the APC when it was formed, restructuring was not at the fore of his campaign, even though so many elements who were advocates of restructuring in the past, but for the purpose of political convenience, a lot of them abandoned that demand, and they were more interested in capturing power from PDP, and that was their focus. And Yinka felt, no, if we are going to get Nigeria right, it is not about the character of leaders we emerge. And I think we have indicated today, it is all about the fact, our ability to make the system work. So that was actually the point where people think, Yinka abandoned President Buhari, who used to be a spokesman of his campaign, for Dr. Jonathan in 2015. It was not a relationship between Yinka and PDP. It was purely on the basis of the assurance, as given back to by the 2014 National Conference, that President Jonathan committed himself to the restructuring of Nigeria. That was the basis of the support, given to him, not just by Yinka, but some other persons who were involved in the restructuring movement.
Femi, one of the most significant protests that he masterminded was the Save Nigeria Group protest of 2012, if you remember, the one we had at Khalifa Emi Park. Yes. A day before, Yinka called me and told me that, look, it's going to be mother of all protests since they've been having protests in Nigeria, that I should come and give them coverage and everything. But the bottom line is that that protest till today is still like the best, as till now, Yinka Odumakin did everything to put the 2012 famous Ojota protest together.
You see, Yinka, just like even from your days from the movement to the various media organizations, you understand that Yinka has one thing to say, which is what has endeared him to a lot of those that people who have found Yinka around while he was alive. It is his ability to organize. Yinka Odumakin was an organizer. He's a person that is so detailed, and if there are reasons for you to organize events, programs, or the likes of what we witnessed, initially, we had a Save Nigeria Group protest in Abuja during the doctrine of necessity, and coming back to the Occupy Nigeria protest of 2012, give it to Yinka when he talks about bringing people together, organizing event for a success. He has that ability because this is a man that rarely sleeps. He's committed to getting things work. Yinka, the only thing he's not ready to sacrifice is what is not available. So for him, his time is not his time. You know very well that a lot of in the middle of the night, we are about to call in to seek his opinion on issues of national importance. So Yinka spent, a greater part of his life organizing from his school days, from the student union days, from the days, his days in the democratic socialist movement. And if you look at the role he has continued to play, even in Afenifere, you realize that he has been actively involved in the organization of so many things that has actually driven some of these organizations Yinka worked with while he was alive.
Thank you, Femi.
Just like
I want to thank you, Femi Lawson. Thank you for your contribution. And
thank you. We thank TVC for all the support.
GKB.
Yeah.
What we are seeing now is in the last 24 hours, it has been trying, especially for the human rights community.
Yeah.
Innocent Chukuma
also died
of
today.
the Clean Foundation and Ford Foundation West Africa also died. And a lot of people will say, look, it's a big blow to the human rights community. Even Josephine, his wife, is also a friend of Dr. Joe Odumakin. Babajide Otitoju want to join us from Abuja. Jide, is a very, very sad day in the history of, the country. We've lost Yinka Odumakin, and in the last 24 hours, Innocent Chukuma is no more.
24 hours for the family of activists in our country. Because to lose Yinka Odumakin and then lose Innocent Chukuma 24 hours after is extremely difficult to take. I was talking about Innocent being nominated to the panel that the president set up to address the issue of police reform. He was such a competent activist. Whatever role you give him, he excels and shows his worth. So to lose such a man, such a gentleman, and a great believer in the oneness of our country, in the progress of our country, is extremely difficult to take. And you see, the truth is, we can call Yinka all kinds of names, but every Nigerian who fought against military rule, who helped to enthrone the democracy that we now enjoy, must recognize that people like Yinka put their lives on the line. He was a member of NADECO. He worked very closely with Baba Padokun at NADECO. All he wanted was a better Nigeria, a Nigeria run competently and a restructured Nigeria. Remember, he was at Punch, and he had a column then with the title Razzmatazz. But invariably, he left journalism and faced activism squarely. He was also in Ganifawa Emin's NCP. So he's always been a progressive, true and true. Although the definition of progressive has already been abused in our country. We see charlatans, people who cannot defend public goods, calling themselves progressives. We see people who are not progressive in nature, in character, sitting on social media and calling themselves progressives. But Yinka Odumakin represented progressivism. And when you talk, he also had a wife who was also a progressive, true and an activist. The same thing was true of Innocent Chukuma. Chukuma had Josephine, who is today one of the best activists in our country. We started journalism together at the Democrat, but she moved into activism, and she has also excelled just as her husband. So a great man often finds the right wife, both men found the right wives who complemented them competently. So it's a sad day for us as a country that we have lost both men. And these are people that I can say are irreplaceable. There will never be another Yinka Odumakin. There will never be another innocent Chukuma. All we can wish for is that our country will produce more of their life.
It's troubling that Nigeria seems to be descending into anarchy. A daring attack on Imo headquarters of the Nigerian Police Force and release of over 1,800 inmates in a correctional center in Owerri came to mind. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, blames the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, for the attack. He ordered immediate deployment of additional units of police mobile force and other tactical squads to the southeast. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the attack, tagging it an act of terrorism. BC, let's start from the effrontery. If we have 1,800 condemned criminals or awaiting trial and even condemned criminals that were cooling off in a prison facility, a correctional center, on the loose right now, added to the problem of banditry and what have you. So it's just like the southeast is like no-go area right now, because if you look at that population, 1,800. When you start counting from 1 to 10 and you get to 1,800 hardened criminals.
It's unfortunate. Unfortunately too, things didn't just get to this point without warning. The case in the southeast, and in fact, the entire country, has been a case of anarchy, so to say, because for some time now, security situation in Nigeria, for anyone that is in this country or even outside, you know that it has not been the best of time for us as a nation. We've had series of attacks on facilities, government facilities, security facilities, you know, and unfortunately nothing has been done to curb this. This latest one is very tragic, and it's something that we should make anybody to be afraid. Having 1,800, over 1,800, because there is even controversy over the exact figure. But we know that we have at least 1,800 inmates let on the loose right now. But you ask yourself, how could this be done? How did this happen? How did we get to this point that, you know, where government could attack such a facility, burn down vehicles, did a lot of things, and yet they couldn't, nobody was arrested.
They said they were told that Jesus Christ...
Yes, they said so that Jesus Christ has risen. You are not supposed to be here.
Yeah,
you are supposed to be go out. And I mean, how do we get to a point that government could now take such a charge that our security forces, they overpower them?
Not in a village.
Not in
a town, in the heart of the city.
Exactly, and they are overpowered. No, I just pity the people in the southeast. And remember that even the people have been complaining about this problem of insecurity.
Yes.
And the Ohaneze, you know, the people have said that government should do something urgent about the problem. But it's unfortunate that we are here, we are where we are. We don't even know who the suspects are, who the gunmen are, even though the IG has gone forth to accuse IPOB and the other, the Eastern, which I think is rather too fast a conclusion to reach.
But people will tell you that it's the IGP the buck stops on the table. He has
yes, but
intelligence.
I would, you know why I'm saying that? I'm saying that just this yesterday, gunmen attacked police in Taraba. They killed 2 policemen and seized their rifles. So are we saying that IPOB went to Taraba and did this? So we
no, there's been a pattern, Paul. There's been a pattern in the southeast. Right now, like there's what is happening in Ebonyi State now is so despicable. Now, Abia is trying to take a kind of defensive move, proactive move to declare the curfew. But if you look at the trend before now, it has been a kind of onslaught against uniformed men, especially in the southeast, and not minding somebody saying outside Nigeria, giving instruction that any policeman that you see attack the policeman, start killing them. So there's a pattern in which this thing, and they've scored a major point by going to the police headquarters, by operating very close to the government house.
Yeah, it's very, very sad that's happening. It's official. We have 2 governments in Nigeria. The formal governments at all levels, and then the government set up by kidnappers, bandits, terrorists, and all of that. And this other government is actually holding sway. It's actually holding, this government is actually holding sway. You understand? The truth of the matter is that things will continue to be like this, except we are very proactive. But first, let me comment on the haste of is it immediate past IGP now?
No.
No, he has not been. Okay, he has not been. Okay, yeah, he's still there. Okay. Yeah. Okay, the other man has not taken over.
Yes.
Okay, the haste of him. I don't know. Of course, you can say, well, the IGP has, like you said, has information, and I don't want to discountenance that
information that I don't have.
That I don't have.
Security.
But then we also know that from the way the police has been behaving. You have a reason to doubt, sometimes to be very skeptical.
So do you suspect Boko Haram for this?
No, I don't suspect any.
So there's a pattern that's been going on in Olu. If you check what happened in Olu, the people that carried out, this thing in Olu, the IG was just looking at the pattern. And these guys, the way they operate, and not knowing that there's a loudmouth out of this country that is always urging people, attack them, burn everything down, and inciting people on a daily basis.
I am not saying matter of factly that it's not IPOP. I just want us to be very, 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 very careful. You understand? But people are saying that, okay, why did, within 24 hours, why did the IGP...
Okay, the time frame, Nigerians are funny. Exactly. The time frame now is immaterial now to the magnitude of what they perpetrated.
This is why we have to, this is why.
But the bottom line is that some people have been able to hold the state, down on its nails. And
you know why I'm saying this. We have to. Okay. I just want us to be, I just want the police to be very sure he knows what he's doing. If you remember when Wakili was first arrested, police said it had no evidence. Later it came up with a 6-count charge. I know too well how cases go to court and they are thrown out for lack of due diligence. You understand? If it is truly IPOP, I'm not a spokesman for IPOP, and I don't have any sympathy for IPOP. What I expect is that there should be proper investigation. But besides that, you see, we keep having this reactive. Look at the way look at what IGP did. IGP actually went to, he has sent some squads, all of that. That is still a reaction. See, you cannot be doing the same thing the same way and expect a different result all the time.
The guys gathered and they sang before they even carried out the operation.
Yes.
And they took time.
Exactly.
It wasn't something that was done in a hurry. And when you see the pattern, as in the number of cars that was burnt, the number of cars that was burnt, the correctional center, and for you to even open the gates for 1,800 people to come out, this is not a 5-minute job. And that there cannot be a counter response is something that worries me.
That is exactly what we're talking about. That's exactly what we're talking about. But again, How can we prevent some of this from happening? By now, I expect, we keep having issues of insecurity in the country, northwest, southwest, everywhere. That even a governor of Zamfara State was already throwing the towel. He said the best way the solution to what insecurity is negotiating. And he even went ahead to say, look, we have 30,000 bandits in how many camps now? I mentioned the number of camps, that the best solution. By now, I expect that should have been, we should rethink our security strategy. By now, I expect that there should be a security summit. By now, I expect that we should start thinking of state police. Now, the IGP sent police from elsewhere to Imo State. What about what about the base? The base or the basis of those of the officers that were sent there? We need state police. We need to start rethinking our strategy. We need to call a summit. But now I expect even governors to come together, and say, look, what is the solution to this insecurity? Because insecurity is a very big thing in the country.
No, it's the biggest thing now.
It's the biggest. In fact, in Nigeria now, if we are not talking about kidnapping, we are talking about killing. If we are not talking about killing, we are talking about strike. If we are not talking about strike, we are talking about routine medical checkup abroad. So it's like there is no good news, almost no good news coming out of the country. And we can't, this is not what you can play the ostrich about. You can't play the ostrich about, and you can't just wish it away. It's not going to stop except we do something about it. In fact, it's going to escalate except we do something about it.
So how do you protect the people in that area, BC? Because it's, for me, if I were to be in Imo State now, I don't know the kind of apprehension. And some of them might even attempt to even leave the state to go and operate. The name Correctional Center, it doesn't really work in the right sense in Nigeria. It is, some people will tell you that when they go to prison, that is when they got influenced by other gangs. That's where they became, by the time they came out, they became wilder and, so safety of the people.
Unfortunately, I don't have any solution or any suggestion concerning the safety of the people because I don't see how they can be saved. You see, safety is not a wish. You can't simply wish safety. It's based on practical measures that are put in place to ensure safety of the citizenry. And as things are now, I do not see any practical steps or measures being taken to ensure the safety of the people in Imo State, not even in Imo State alone, in the entire country. Because as you have rightly said, the fact that it happened in Imo does not mean that these people will be restricted to Imo. They are free and we don't even know where they are. They can be, you don't even know how many night buses they have joined from Imo to Lagos to the north to any part of Nigeria as we speak. So, issue of safety, it's unfortunate. There is no safety anywhere as it is in Nigeria now. It's like God for us. Everyone for himself, God for us all. That is the situation that we are in. But going forward, I think we need to do something about our security architecture. We need to restructure the police force. We'll be talking about restructuring. We'll be talking about state police all this while. I think this is the right time for us to take a definite decision on this matter because the federal government does not even have enough policemen to police the entire country. We are aware of that. We are aware of that shortage. So in the midst of this shortage, you are killing policemen. In the midst of this shortage, you are stealing arms, you are stealing ammunition, and we are having all these dangerous weapons in the hands of criminals.
They look for police armory to go and cut away their guns.
Dangerous people are holding onto armories, to weapons, dangerous weapons, and that is not safe for anybody. If we have state police, then the governors will have more control over the security of their states. Right now, you have a situation where a governor does not even know what is going on in his own state. He will have to rely on the federal government. And something happened in Imo. Of course, the governor came out to talk. He kept on pleading with people that if you know anybody that has gone out of the correctional facility, come and report them. Who will do that report? at one's own peril. You know, the state should not shift their responsibility to the citizens. And that is exactly what is happening now. We need to discuss this issue of state police. Let Nigeria restructure its police force. Let governors have more control over the security of their states. Let us employ more people, more personnel to take care of our security needs. That is one of the ways of taking practical measures to solve our problems.
Some people will tell you that ordinarily, if this will happen in another environment, that by now, heads should be rolling. Heads should be rolling.
Exactly.
Talking about whoever is the commissioner of police, talking about whoever is the area commander of the police, talking about any squadron, anybody in charge of that place. Just like this thing is just like Alausa. Going to government house, Alausa, and you know, when you if there's a facility there, you can free them, operate there for like 2 hours. You know, RRS headquarters is somewhere here, and that kind of thing, you are able to perpetrate it and go scot-free.
Exactly. See, what the problem we have is that we don't have accountability. If I employ you, if I'm a school proprietor and I employ you to teach English, and the students are failing, they keep failing, you should resign, or I send you out. If I appoint you as a coach, of course, we are all familiar with what happens in football. You understand?
Especially Chelsea.
You understand? Chelsea does not waste time.
No, you have to get results.
Exactly, the coach. You have to get results. So
there's a KPI.
Exactly. Which is why I support what she said regarding state police. Of course, if a governor is in charge, he appoints a CP, and the CP is not performing. I appointed you to protect the people and all of that. And this is still happening. It keeps happening.
I'll fire you.
I'll fire you. Maybe somebody else can come. Exactly. Yes. Because look, they say hope is not a method. We cannot keep hope is not a method. We can just sit down and be hoping. It's like someone who he hopes things will be better. You know, he stays at home.
I'm not referring to the governor.
No, I'm just. Okay. I'm sorry. That's just coincidental. Oh no, sorry. Not a governor. Odumakin. So I mean, somebody who sits at home and he says things go better. He doesn't need to work. No job. He just expects that maybe one day somebody will come and give him money. You know, he keeps dreaming. Somebody will come and give me money. Who is the Father Christmas that will give you money? So the point is, we are just living on hope, which is not a method. It's not a method for progress. There must be something pragmatic to do. Heads must roll. Heads must roll when people don't perform. We see it happens in other clients.
The attack of the White House.
I was going to the Capitol. The Capitol. I was going to talk about that as if you read my mind. Let's talk about that. What happened to that the police chief there? The person had to go because it was a failure of leadership. So what we keep having is failure of leadership at all levels. Failure of leadership at all levels. Even governors, we cannot absorb them. Of course, we know that we know that they are not in charge. But we've seen governors even take proactive actions. We saw what Dr. Kade Fayemi did, you know, with although I don't know whether that is even being implemented as expected, which I'm talking about with the herdsmen and all of that. We see you remember if you remember when Ayosha was governor of Ekiti State, remember the decisive action he took. So we still need exactly. We still need governors taking actions. Then we need governors also synergizing, you know, having a very good relationship with their police commissioner. That has always, Lagos has always enjoyed that. Lagos has always enjoyed a robust relationship between governors and police commissioners.
It's funding. It's just funding.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
That's the relationship. Funding.
I agree.
Funding.
I agree.
Funding.
I agree.
You have the security,
buying of patrol vans and all of that.
Just keep investing into this thing.
There must be accountability.
Yesterday, I asked my guests yesterday, and I asked them about the proliferation of arms. Right now, it's worrisome, and we can't even account for what is in the system.
Exactly.
And it's
that's the point, that we have lots of dangerous weapons in the hands of wrong people, and they are getting more and more, and that is even the worry. And it seems nobody is even doing anything to remedy the situation. you don't even know which other facility is due for another attack as we speak. And the fact that this can happen, an operation like this happened for about 2 hours and nobody is caught and nobody has been queried, and the person that is supposed to be queried is even the one that is quickly going to the media to say that to identify the people that are responsible. You know, when I mentioned that, the question is
and he told them to use their rifles against,
and he now said
iPod,
use your rifles against iPod people.
iPod members, yes.
You know, we cannot afford to do this, because even, okay, you ask yourself, people have been asking, okay, you can easily identify these ones. Why can't you easily identify the bandits that have been disturbing the people in the northwest, in the northeast, all this way?
And some people will say they even know where they are.
And exactly, you have not said this, so it's worrisome. It's really, really worrisome. And as it is, except we take decisive steps, I'm afraid this situation may continue unabated, and that will be unfortunate for everybody. In fact, naming them terrorists is not even the issue. We are not even interested in whatever name they are called.
Bringing them to books.
Bringing them to books, arresting them, punishing them, making sure that
government keeps analyzing. See, what we do here is analysis. We are tired of government analyzing the problem.
Honestly.
We are doing enough analysis here.
We want action.
Government keeps analyzing. We want action. Do something. Stop analyzing.
Honestly.
The Yorubas have a saying which loosely translates to mean the day we see evil is the day the evil disappears on the ground. Ijo tabari Ibi, something like that. Now, Governor El-Rufai of Kaduna appears determined to call the bluff of kidnappers. He said yesterday that the brigands have lost their right to life under our constitution as amended and must be wiped out. Meanwhile, former head of state General Abdulsalami Abubakar mourns the security challenges in the country, leading to some 80,000 deaths, leaving close to about 3 million internally displaced persons, IDPs. A very, very dire situation indeed.
It is
very dire.
Very, very dire. And I agree with the governor of Kaduna State that it's about time we dealt decisively with these undesirable elements. We cannot continue to treat them with kid gloves. The governor said clearly that the security forces should go after them in the forest that they occupy. So it's not only Boko Haram that is occupying Nigerian territory, although sometimes we deceive ourselves that they don't occupy any Nigerian territory. Boko Haram occupies territories in our country. Bandits also occupy territories in our country. It's an affront. It's utter disrespect to the state for brigands to hold on to territories within our country. You can imagine, there was a video that went viral of one bandit who was saying all kinds of rubbish, that they were abandoned and then they had to take to criminality. The forest that abandoned by who by? Everyone who just wants to play the victim. You are not the victim. You are visiting death and sorrow on Nigerians, but you are trying to play the victim. So this same fellow, even the forest where he was interviewed was mentioned. I've said repeatedly, we know where they are. We know the forest that they occupy. They have different camps. A governor came out to tell us that there are up to 30,000 bandits in the state alone.
Oh yes. Oh, yes.
Maybe that was even a conservative figure. That's more than a quarter of the strength of the Nigerian army. Because that's the problem. And here we are not going to where they are to visit tremendous volume of violence on them. So the governor is saying, encouraging security forces to go to those forests where they are hiding and deal decisively with them. That is the only solution.
I've not been to much of the north, outside of Abuja and a bit of Kano. I hear the land mass is very mighty there, so possible for anything to happen.
Yes, you look at a state like, if you were to use Borno State that I'm very familiar with, for example. There are local governments in Borno State bigger than a state in Nigeria. Magumeri local government is bigger than the biggest state in the southeast.
Wow.
Kukawa local government, where you have Baga and all these places. Kukawa local government is bigger than the biggest state in the southeast. So, and those are just 2 local governments. And there are other big local governments like Guzamala and the rest of them. You know, so there is tremendous space for them to hide.
To roam wild.
Especially in the rainy season, when the weeds get overgrown, it provides ample foliage for them to hide. So, but of course, we can attack them in the air. We have no excuse, I repeat, we have no excuse not to take out these people. Because they've harassed us enough, they've killed Nigerian people enough, and it's about time we dealt decisively with them.
Tony, here's a Governor El-Rufai who has become exasperated. It's a tall order. I'm looking at the troops following the governor's orders now.
Well, I think what we have to admit is that, first of all, I think our capacity to estimate the threat that we face is the fundamental factor. Before now, maybe probably 6 months ago, the governments at all levels in Nigeria, they never properly estimate the amount of threat we are facing from these people. But now that Governor Rufai and the governors of our state, who admitted that he has probably 30,000 roaming freely. And remember too that Said Abubakar, the Sultan of Sokoto, said that in Sokoto state now, they just go to anywhere and harass you and ask you to bring money. I have a friend who lives, a journalist who lives in Mina State. He told me 2 weeks ago that whenever it is harvest time in Niger State, whenever it is harvest time in Niger State, after you have done your harvesting, they will just go and kidnap the wives of the farmers. Why do they kidnap them? Because they are looking for a ransom. When they kidnap your wife, you want to release your wife to them. And they know you have money. And most of them don't bank. They go to the bank.
This is on info.
It's based on information. Anyway, information is easy to gather there. I think with the new services that we have now, I think Nigeria should do a proper appraisal of the extent of the power of the bandits. Because except of course you know their essence and their number, you cannot properly plan for them. If a state can account for 30,000, let us say conservatively, some other in the southern, because banditry is now not limited to the north. There are variants of banditry too that are in the south here, by people who are armed robbers. 412 is banditry in any way, even though it's banditry by other means. So I think our inability to properly estimate the level of our problem will not determine whether we can solve that problem. It is good that Governor El-Rufai is coming out, but the problem we have now is that, do we have the security forces? Do we have the number to be able to properly engage these people, like Ajide said, and take the battle to them? Because we have to take the battle to their house. We have a lot, like Sambisa Forest occupies about 7 states in Nigeria. So if you can take the battle to Sambisa Forest, which we know used to be their original base, but now, beside Boko Haram, that is prevalent in the north, we have banditry that is peculiar to each of the states in Nigeria. So other 18 states or 16 states in the north, they have issue of banditry. So have we been able to estimate them before we ask the security forces to go into battle? So I think that should be the first thing. And I think recently the service chief did a tour of all parts of Nigeria, the 6 political. So I think we're able to estimate the number of challenges those governors are having. And I would have expected that 2 weeks after their tour, they should have been able to estimate the level of challenges we have, to know and to inform the government whether we have the men and the material to confront men and material to confront these people. Because except of course we have the men and material, like Jesus said, we cannot take the battle to them. If Zamfara State has 30,000, and what is the size of Nigerian forces?
And a former head of state, General Abdul Salami Abubakar, is angered by the fact that Nigerians are IDPs inside their country, and as many as 80,000 people have lost their lives.
Yes, and more and more people are becoming IDPs within the country. Many people underestimate the extent of banditry in Katsina, the home state of the president, and the fact that a lot of people there are in IDP camps. Many people don't know that in Benue State, people are displaced by criminal headsmen years ago. Their communities are still not safe enough for them to go back home. So there are IDPs in Benue. And with Ghana's boys still killing people. This week...
That's Tewase.
Tewase.
That was killed by an ambush.
Yes. Yeah. With Ghana's boys still killing people and burning communities, you will have more IDPs. There are public office holders who cannot even stay in their local governments anymore. They've had to flee because they could come anytime to kill people. Yeah. And Boko Haram, anytime they attack communities, especially the Shekau faction, they will not just loot people's food, they will set their houses ablaze. Now, when you set people's houses ablaze, where do they go? Okay. They become a burden onto government, they become IDPs. So, the peculiar nature of the terror that Boko Haram represents has ensured that we have IDP camps all over Borno State and outside of Borno State. We still have Nigerian IDPs in Cameroon. When as we speak, when Boko Haram attacks local government like Kalabalge, where you have the big town, Ran, is very close to Cameroon. The people simply flee into Cameroon. You go to Chad, there are IDPs from Nigeria in Chad. In fact, the governor had a meeting with the president of Chad the other day. There are IDPs in Niger Republic, not just in one town. In Niger Republic, Nigerian IDPs. Some of them have been there since 2014. So it's so bad that the day Governor Zulum went there to share money and bales of cotton to the women, 4 persons were trampled to death because no Nigerian official had visited them to make them happy. So they were overjoyed and they were struggling. Everyone wanted to get a piece of the action. In the stampede, about 4 of them died. There are so many. A lot of those communities in Borno North, especially within that Kukawa local government, a lot of them are living inside Niger Republic. Places Abadam, for example. Abadam local government, the bulk of the people have left. They are now living inside Niger Republic. A lot of those communities, if not all of them, people are not living in them. I'm talking about Abadam local government. People are not living in them. People are not living in Guzamala local government. They fled to places like Chad and Cameroon, and Niger Republic. So it's a big problem that we have within our country and outside of our country. Yet we are not officially at war. But what these people represent is more than warfare to us, and that's why we must defeat them.
Otherwise, the time is now, Tunde. So we sum everything as we take it home. Governor El-Rufai has given the marching orders to the security folks. General Abubakar is not happy. So who is?
Well, I think we thank God that people like that are coming out to actually admit, because lack of admittance is another problem. Now that we have admitted, I think there's trouble in this country, because during the Civil War, the estimated number of people who died, they are not more than 2 million. And we cannot, probably after the Civil War, probably a year or 2 after, we never had the case of any internally displaced. Nigeria was able to solve that problem there. But now we are in an internal war. Not a civil war, internal civil strife. We have 3 million that are internally displaced people. Benue State, they keep on recording figure every day. Even in Ogun State, some people in Ogun State, they relocated to Benin. 5,000 people in Yinka area. That is, they are part of the 3 million that were displaced. So the government has to actually come out. They don't need any other figure or conviction than what we already have. And except of course we do this thing. You can imagine if Nigeria is facing an external aggression. This is internal aggression, and we cannot contain. We have about 3 million man-made internal aggression that is due to lack of either vision or being proactive about solving the problem. So I think the government has to come out really, and like the information minister said yesterday, and I hope that he was speaking seriously, talking seriously, that Nigeria is in deep.
Something like the Yoruba would say,
please save us, so we are in serious problem. I think
it's significant that we are admitting the extent of the problem, because we used to paper over it and make it look like no.
It's significant that we are accepting the fact
that means we are determined now to solve the problem.
We are near the problem now.
Because a problem identified
is a problem solved.
Is a problem solved to an extent.
Otherwise, the day we identify evil, that day we say good night.
No, when we identify evil, we then confront it. You confront it head on. So, but to be thinking that, it's the activities of enemies of government, or Nigerian media hates, they hate good news, they like bad news. Not that kind of illiterate thinking.
In my state, Akwa Ibom, in a synod, there's wahala there as we speak. So maybe that's for another day. People are displaced
in all places. Sometimes over even boundary adjustment issues that have lingered for so long,
which
people
get killed.
Yes.
You know. All right. So we have seen. Zebediah says, I'm sorry. Zebediah says he has seen 99. Who be 100? We have seen 99 as a people.
Let him try to see the 100. It's not a bad thing. Come on to see 100.
We still have this problem, as in the main problem, the armed herdsmen in the last 1 week are said to have apprehended, more than 50 people, Ekiti, Borno, and across river states.
Yeah, I was having a discussion with people, on the forum last week that even when you are talking about ranching, would this address the problem of, because some people are now who are kidnapping, who are killing people, they don't have cattle, So even if you provide ranching, you fully into kidnapping, you fully into terrorism. So even when you say, okay, I want to give land ranching, how did you deal with the problem of terrorism? So I think, like he has said, we need to have a strategic response that is impactful. Because from all the grammar, what you have said and all that, Boko Haram is different from banditry, it's all about semantics. Because the method, the strategy employed by those bandits and Boko Haram is the same. They employ terror, they kidnap people, they rape, they create chaos in every community. So we need to realize that we are facing a major problem. And it has become a national problem now. Before it used to be the Northwest, Northeast, then we are talking of Southwest and even the southern part of the country. So I'm afraid that we are not responding decisively to the challenge. We are not in a war situation. Yes, you see military weapons everywhere going to deal with civil uprising as if we are already fighting a war. These are normal things that are supposed to be meant for the police. So I think it's almost getting out of hand, and we need to rise to the occasion.
I think we need to commend the civil defense. This is the sort of complementary work that we expect from them. For the civil defense to have arrested about 50 headsmen for carrying military-grade weapons, AK-47 and the rest of them, and for even being involved in abduction of people and banditry generally. I think they deserve a commendation for that. We can't leave all of that work to the army and to the police. The civil defense is there to complement them. And they've done a good thing by going after these people and apprehending them, because a lot of these guys merely pretend to be headsmen, but they are just criminals, downright criminal, and that's what we have seen. And the president has said that no one has the right to carry an AK-47. He said that anyone who carries an AK-47 deserves to be fired at, because it's an offensive weapon. And there's a lot that you can do with it. So people can hear the president say, no, you have no power to carry an AK-47 and still be going around freely with it as if there's no law in our country. So the civil defense corps guys have done a good job of apprehending these people. Now we want to see them taken before courts of law so that justice can be served on them. Until that happens, we cannot be sure that they won't do this kind of thing again.